Quick glance over. Yeah.
Let's get going, we'll be right.
Okay,
Yep.
really sorry.
All right, let's go.
Petition on your list, don't you? You had a petition on the table and a petition.
All right, we might get underway. And thank you kindly for coming out for the start of our 2023-2024 budget review and rating plan submissions panel hearing, an annual event for the council. And this year it's been well documented where our finances are and the difficulties we face, and hence we have a substantial number of submissions during this process. But I'd like to start with an acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Wadawurrung people as the traditional owners of the land, waterways and skies. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Greater Geelong community today. The city has received 949 submissions in total for our proposed budget and revenue rating plan on 67 different topics. To highlight a few, there have been 44 submissions received in relation to Kiama Drive drainage in Lara, 132 submissions in relation to the Gdynia Pool, 11 submissions in relation to climate change and the environment, and 6 submissions in relation to rates, a number of submissions in relation to the library, obviously. Thank you to everyone for participating in today's 23-24 submissions review panel. We appreciate the time you've given in making your submissions, as the community feedback is an important part of the council's decision-making process. The meeting is being broadcast on the internet, and the recording of the meeting will be published on the council's website. I'll be calling for apologies. We have Councillor Murray, Contell and Nelson who apologies this evening. Declarations of conflicts of interest, please note those as we proceed. I will be noting a conflict of interest on item 415, which is in relation to the Mount Dunedin footpath funding. Sorry, 418 will be my declaration. The conduct of the hearings. I'd just like to note that following the submissions review panel has been formed to hear formal submissions made by members of the community in relation to the 23-24 proposed budget, revenue and rating plan. The submissions review panel will operate within the context of the Local Government Act 2020, together with any other act or regulation nominated by Council. This hearing will be held in accordance with the Council's governance rules and community engagement policy. Please note that only submitters who indicated in their written submission their wish to be heard will be permitted to make a verbal submission this evening. So everybody who's here who's said they wish to attend and speak will be heard tonight. I'd like to advise all submitters that this is a hearing. It's not a debate, it's not a question and answer session. It is for us to hear your submission and take that on board. A response will be coming out at the end of our submission process. So there won't be a response as such this evening, just an acknowledgement of what we're hearing tonight of your submission. So we need to be really clear on that. Shortly you'll be called to address the panel and speak to your submission. Each submitter will have 3 minutes to get through that submission. If you've already nominated if you've previously nominated to speak to your submission, the panel's job is to hear your submission. At the end of the submissions review process, the panel will convene to consider all submissions we've received and the information provided to us. That obviously won't be this evening, but we'll certainly be taking on board all that we are hearing. The panel will then develop a report for Council prior to the adoption of the budget. The report will be considered by the Council at the meeting on the 27th of June 2023. All the submitters will be notified in writing of the outcome of their submission, hopefully by end of week. But we'll see how we go, given the high number. Thank you for taking time to submit your feedback on the 23-24 budget and review panel. We'll now begin taking the submissions. So 78 people have asked to be heard this evening, so we'll do our best to get them through all of them in a timely manner. And we will start with Mr. Paul Brady from the North Shore Football Netball Club. Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. As you would all know, Norlane is clearly identified as the most disadvantaged suburb in Victoria and ashamedly ranks highly Australia-wide. This is a sad state of affairs and one that needs immediate and concentrated attention to turn things around. Otherwise, what are governments and councils for? That statistic should be enough to see a united determination to fix the issues. North Shore have planned since 2012 to upgrade the Windsor Park facility to something that is fit for purpose for a modern club. This includes a direct focus on female facilities and to accommodate those with disabilities. The club has worked extremely hard to turn things around, and it is clearly disgraceful that we get to a point in time where the club fully expects the master plan to proceed without issue and the council, for whatever reason, pulls funding. The club has done everything asked of it, followed all council requests, obtained a $2 million grant from the state government, fully budgeted, and now relies on the council to throw its considerable support behind the master plan and deliver it. This panel needs to understand that North Shore, in the heart of Norlane, has had no major funding since the early 1990s. Is a major community hub for many things other than sport, including local schools, the community centre, social groups and others. The club always looks to be involved with community initiatives and relishes the opportunity to help out wherever possible. With mental health being a worldwide focus and the work being done in the north with mental health facilities, this project needs to be viewed as one complementing that, keeping kids, adults and families fit and healthy and having somewhere safe and inclusive to go. The club facility is old, tired and male-dominated and in many ways not fit for modern purpose. Many club members comment on other clubs, how they seem to get things done by council and North Shore doesn't. But I don't want to go down that path of complaining about other clubs. Good luck to them. It's clearly not too late to save this project, as it's always been the club's aim to have this completed by 2026, in readiness for the club's centenary in 2027. However, there is urgency now for female facilities as our netball re-emerges and we have a junior female team, and that's growing every week. The club has been working closely with council officers, and there's a lot of enthusiasm and confidence about the project. And I believe a united front can get this done in a timely fashion. This project can be done, and it needs to be done now. 3 minutes is obviously not enough to tell the full case, but I've cut it short because I know you've got a long night ahead, so thank you for hearing me.
Well, very succinct and quite clear. Thank you.
Sorry?
Very succinct and quite clear. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
John Winkler. Is John with us? Thank you.
Okay, I'm speaking on behalf of the North East Lara community whose homes flood and who need their drainage upgrade to proceed. This upgrade isn't a nice to have or discretionary. It's basic maintenance required for something that has a real impact on our community. For 40 years, our homes have been subject to flooding. They get water in them. Ruined carpets, furniture, upheaval. It's horrible and it's distressing, and it doesn't stop, never knowing when it's going to happen again. The weather stress is very unhealthy. We've been promised 5 times now that it's going to be resolved, and now we're looking down the barrel of yet another broken promise. The bigger problem now is there's nothing to go back to. The drains are more severely compromised and council is unable to deal with it. Despite everybody's best efforts, our drains now flood even in light rain. Firstly, the main open drain has been completely blocked by a V-line earthen dam in the rail corridor. Council has been unable to have it removed since it was reported back in October last year, eight months ago. Secondly, Council has also been unable to make basic maintenance across the drain. V-line doesn't allow Council access to the main drain, and even on Council's own land, they haven't been able to remove the ever-increasing undergrowth and dead vegetation dumped in there in February. After 4 months, Council is still waiting on a permit to even start removing these blockages. Even if these newer issues were resolved, the underlying drain system would still be the same, deficient drain identified numerous times since 1983 as requiring a major upgrade. And these fiascos clearly show that any new issues that may arise would not be noticed, let alone resolved in a timely manner, if at all. Council has statutory responsibilities under a number of acts for drainage and flood management and the care and management of drains. Our community has contributed a lot over the years to help with this, so pushing ahead instead with funding for other more recent, nice-to-have only projects such as recreational and sporting facilities is completely unreasonable and detrimental and highly unfair to our community. One local example is the committed Lara Six Ways intersection upgrade at $16 million. That project alone is 8 times more than the $2 million needed to complete our drainage upgrade. 8 times. And that's just one of many other nice-to-have projects proposed to proceed. The potential loss of Victorian government contributions to these other projects doesn't justify cutting us off at the knees yet again, nor does it alleviate Council's legal obligations to do basic maintenance. We've contributed a lot, been more than patient, but we've run out of time. We don't deserve water through our homes again, and we are asking Council to please proceed with essential work as promised and planned in the new year. And we would ask that before any decision to the contrary is made, that decision makers first come out to Lara and have a look yourselves. It's one of those things you just have to see. Thank you.
John. Is Virginia Selkeld? My apologies, I've got that.
Selkeld, close.
Selkeld. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to hear me out. My name is Virginia, and I want to share how important Cardinia Pool is to me. After leaving an abusive relationship back in 2018, Cardinia became my saviour. My first swim there was very emotional as I found my identity again. I now currently swim at Cardinia at least 4 times per week. It provides with me more than physical exercise. It contributes to my mental and emotional well-being. I understand that swimmers are being advised to attend LeisureLink, splashdown and other indoor settings. Whilst these are great facilities, thank you, the air inside is humid, thick and sticky, leaving you gasping for air after swimming one lap. On the other hand, swimming at Cardinia Pool provides you with fresh air, and this feeling is invigorating and revitalising. Studies also suggest that outdoor swimming has many benefits and can improve mood. For example, I found one recent study conducted in November 2020 involving 61 outdoor swimmers, which showed outdoor pool swimming acutely reduced negative and increased positive mood. In addition, these pools are all 25 metres. If Cardinia Pool were to close over winter, citizens within the Geelong and Ballerine area will not have access to a 50-metre pool, the nearest being in Hoppers Crossing, some 50 k's away, completely inconvenient and unrealistic. As a swimmer, the benefits of a 50-metre pool as opposed to a 25-metre include the fact that it develops your endurance. A 50-metre provides you with that extra challenge of not having the wall. You have to rely on twice as much endurance. Further, a 50-metre allows you to get into a rhythm because the longer distance, and as a result, you actually go faster. The Geelong rate-paying community is desperate to keep this vital service open. I know there is currently a petition in place and it currently has over 2,400 people who have signed the petition. It's about providing a service to your community and supporting mental health in particular. I urge you to listen and keep Cardinia Pool open over the winter months. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. There are a number of submissions in relation to the pool. We thank you. Mr. Bruce Cohen. Is Bruce with us this evening? If not, we'll keep moving. Gail Cook. Is Gail with us? No? Christina Bond. Not with us. Bevan Nicholson. Thank you, Bevan.
Council for the opportunity to speak. I'd also like to speak on the closure of the Cardinia Park pool. Much like Virginia mentioned, the pool is the only 50-metre pool in the region and the only outdoor 50-metre pool. It's used by hundreds of people every day, from sim squads in the morning who have up to 8 people per lane at 5:30 a.m, to the queues that form at 12 o'clock at noon to get in to use it during the day, through to our school kids who are learning a critical element of swimming, fitness and socialisation at the end of each day. It is the only outdoor non-weight bearing form of exercise that's open to the public during winter. And that's critical for the exercise of an ageing population. Its high use by over 50s during the day typifies the need for this facility. Exercise for over 50s is critical in delaying the onset of ageing and the delaying of the onset of ageing diseases such as Alzheimer's. For over 50s, winter is particularly a dangerous time for colds, flu and COVID. As Virginia mentioned, indoor facilities such as LeisureLink, with their air quality, have been statistically proven to spread colds, flu and be more susceptible to COVID, hence the need for outdoor facilities. But it's not just about physical health. Cardinia Park's critical in supporting the Geelong community's mental health as well. It is a social gathering of people every day. You only need to walk into Cardinia and see people chatting before they get in and have a swim, quick conversation at the end of each lane. And for some people, it's their only form of social interaction during the day in a work from home setting where we are at the moment. People regularly share stories, share part of their day and leave with a smile on their face. Mental health is as important as physical health for this community. I would acknowledge that Council have spent millions of dollars on Corio, upgrades to LeisureLink and the new Drysdale pool. However, none of these facilities are presently in use. Corio's not finished, Drysdale's not finished, and LeisureLink, whilst it is capable of being a 50-metre pool, has been denied the ability to move the boom due to occupational health and safety issues by its current management. The Commonwealth Games are coming to Geelong, and we thought we'd get a couple of pools out of that, and outdoor pools, but we've all now learnt that that's not going to be the case, which again highlights the need to promote the region, promote the use of the outdoor pool, and promote the next generation's chance to actually participate in these events and leverage off their delivery to our region. I'd like to leave Council with a question on whether there has been alternate funding options looked at for the pool, increase in memberships, increase in prices, or perhaps even a winter levy for those using the pool. I am sure the community would support any investigation of any funding option to keep this critical pool open.
Inga Christopherson. Is Inga here? If not, Travis Beckley is next. No Travis. Adam Beckworth. Is Adam here this evening? No? Okay. Michael Ivas. Nope. Lynn Dowling. Lynn, yeah, thank you.
And thanks for the opportunity to read my submission. This submission was put in the day before we heard about closures to libraries and things like that, so this doesn't relate to those things. This is of an issue that I've been passionate about for some time. My submission is I object to the City of Greater Geelong putting the Chilwell Library redevelopment on hold. The plans have already been fully developed by the City of Geelong, the architects and library members with plenty of community consultation. They're ready to go and cost very little compared to many other projects. In particular, there's an urgent need for internal toilets appropriate to this century. The ancient ones in the adjoining park are totally unsuitable for changing babies, taking toddlers, or for use by those with disabilities. This library is a vital community hub which has received recognition via a Victorian Living Libraries grant in order to assist with the proposed redevelopment which will bring it into the 21st century. Having submitted a number of applications to this review panel over the past 6 years since the library was saved from closure in 2017, I feel there's a long-standing case for the renewal of this community asset to be prioritised and included in the 2023-24 budget. Vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Cassie Spence. Is Cathy with us? No. Hilary Hoover-Nars. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Given the enormous grassroots community involvement and support which saved the Chilwell Library from closure in 2017 and the subsequent ongoing work of dedicated local residents collaborating with the GRLC and City of Greater Geelong and architects to develop plans and attain adequate funding for the redevelopment of Chilwell Library, including the Living Library grant from the state government. It is inconceivable that the City of Greater Geelong has now chosen not to fund this project this year. We do understand the three criteria you applied to determine suitability of the projects to be included in this year's budget, but it's not a good look to the average ratepayer to open large multi-million-dollar facilities at the expense of more modest facilities, which have been used and valued for over 60 years. If a healthy, caring and inclusive community is one of your guiding strategic directions, and you want to create an environment where everyone feels welcome and valued for their unique contribution, then the commitment to this particular hard-working, rapidly growing and invested community to upgrade our only community hub by actually adding toilets, long overdue, should indeed be kept, and this funding should be reinstated in the 23-24 budget. Thank you.
Next is Ingrid Novosel.
Ingrid couldn't be here tonight. David Marks on behalf of the Independent Head Community Association.
What's your surname, David?
David Marks.
Thank you.
It's noted there. It's been over 10 years since our small community in Dented Head has seen any capital invested in basic infrastructure in Indented Head. You have our submission, which reiterates what we have been requesting for many years. This includes completion of missing sections of footpath, providing access to our general store and post office. We do not have delivery of mail through Australia Post. The only place to get it is the post office. Extra parking out of our general store, which would allow parking during the critical summer periods, 6 months of the year when the camping ground takes over. What concerns us is that previously it had been agreed with Council and budgeted that the footpath of 2.3 kilometres to complete would be incorporated into the initially into the 18-19 budget for 125,000 Ks, and then the following 2 years, a further 650,000 Ks each year to complete those footpaths. We've now seen this year the Geelong Council bureaucrats advise us that they've started the process all over again, and that inform us that there's no money now to complete it. We don't know what's happened here. It's budgeted for, it's never been produced, and we start all over again with bureaucrats who don't even know what's gone on in the past after meetings with them. What I can't understand is why Geelong don't have the money to do this sort of basic infrastructure. And when we look at your budget going forward, we see $200 million in wages coming up in this next financial year. And when we have a closer look at it, we note that on a full-time equivalent, Geelong employs 1,756 staff. When you compare this to Ballarat, 718, Bendigo's 757, and the City of Melbourne, 1,479, we ask, what is going on? The average salary appears to be around $115,000 a year. We as ratepayers say, all we want is basic infrastructure. We believe that this council is bloated, that a 10% reduction in middle management and upper management could achieve in excess of an extra $20 million to do these basic infrastructure works. Thank you.
Thank you, David. William Hilliard. Is William here? No. Roger Dingle. Thank you, Roger.
The opportunity, greatly appreciated. My context is I've been a 30-year plus user of the Cardinia Pool, and as a parent, grandparent, resident and community member, but also as a psychologist, I've found it to be a very, very worthwhile activity. Acknowledging that pools are financial cost, like all the 13 council networks, the benefits unfortunately are harder to qualify, but very important to consider. I'd want to acknowledge some of the previous speakers that have had very gutsy sort of statements to make in their own personal journey. Also want to acknowledge that this council, like all councils, can't raise its rate outside state government guidelines, but I don't understand why most councils don't seem to have these budget concerns. I'm encouraged by the council website where it says that aquatics and leisure facilities play an important role in providing health, wellbeing, water education and safety programs for our communities. I'm also encouraged that one of the guiding principles of the aquatics and leisure network is to enhance community health, wellbeing and connection, which is such a positive thing. All the pool benefits of any pool, physical health, mental health, community connections, learn to swim, a swimming club, swimming for elite swimmers, preparation for the Commonwealth Games, a safe, supervised, inclusive experience are for all pools, but I'd like to endorse the other two speakers about the fact that some people find indoor swimming just very difficult and can't do it. Most people, when you go to a pool, our local pool, say it feels healthier and they find it a much better experience. Competitive swimmers require it, and if the Commonwealth Games are going to be here, it seems hard to understand why we'd have swimming as a Geelong major focus for the Commonwealth Games, and we're not able to keep the pool open during winter. And the social swimmers, most say that 50-metre swimming, 50-metre pools are better for all the reasons mentioned. So my request is that the pool is kept open during winter. It would send an important message from the council to those interested in swimming and in health and wellbeing who live in the City of Geelong, that community health, wellbeing and connections are an important priority, and that not keeping them open has the potential to send the opposite message. Thank you.
Lita Stanley. Next, Wayne Jarrod. Lucy Bowles. Sam Kello. Alaku. Jessica Bryant. Shane Hass. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to implore you to review your decision to exclude funding in the budget for the North Shore Football and Netball Club's redevelopment. We are in the heart of Norlane, which has been identified as the most disadvantaged area in Victoria, and it's not improving. We've actually gone backwards in our census results from the previous results. It's well documented that Norlane has always been a blue-collar area, and loss of thousands of manufacturing jobs since the 80s has left deep scars in the northern suburbs. They're scars that sporting clubs like North Shore can help heal. Kids participating in sport in a structured environment, an inclusive environment, breaking the generational disadvantage that we see today. We have parents, carers, retirees, past players, supporters, volunteering, giving back to the community, restoring pride in the northern suburbs. North Shore Football and Netball Club facility is tired. It's old, it's outdated, it's unwelcoming in its structure, in its layout, in its appearance. We are squeezing and will continue as volunteers to squeeze as much life out of the facility as we can, because that's what passionate volunteers do. We won't stop. However, without investment immediately, the club may eventually disappear. A club with a rich history, a club that has helped so many people throughout the years, the most successful football club in the Geelong Football and Netball League. The community needs a facility that the area can be proud of, a facility that attracts people to it, that makes people curious as to what we can offer, that draws them in. If you're waiting for participation to increase significantly before you commit funds, that's not a strategy. It's condemning a club to further heartache. Heartache because we live and breathe the area and we know the potential it has to provide so much more. The council must take a leap of faith and support the redevelopment. The state government has. Why not this council? We know the people will come, they'll participate, they'll engage with a club that they can be proud of. North Shore have planned since 2012 to upgrade the Windsor Park facility to something that is fit for purpose for a modern club. And it includes a direct focus on female facilities to increase female participation and to include facilities to accommodate for those with disabilities. Organisations and people for that matter have regrets for things they do in their lives, but overwhelmingly the biggest regrets in life are for the things you don't do. And don't let this be one of the council's biggest regrets, because we don't do it. With the funding in the budget, it will be a decision the council looks back on with pride. Proud that you have done your bit to start to turn things around in the heart of an area that needs it most. We're not asking for an investment in infrastructure, it's an investment in people, the people you represent and the people that need it most. Thank you.
Declan Kennedy. One 197 we're up to. Elson. Alan Carroll. Carol Hullum. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. I'm coming to share my personal journey with the help of the library. I acknowledge the local and national, also Indigenous people, and myself as a global Indigenous. And I just want to invite you to think about the budget with your governance and leadership towards us, the invisible people. As a mother, and my daughter have a crisis on the way from the school, and the library staff was the one giving the sugar help. The moment you actually side through the decision of giving not the right support to the library, we become like a mental health issue because we do have a community needing supporting with the library. Therefore, the library should be a fundamental right for education and health. My daughter is only 13, and the library gives us the engagement we come post-COVID, the security and the engagement of books not only online, it's books of physical community development. Your governance and leadership should provide that security to the new generation. Your actions and impact to the family has been quite deep because it became a budget discussion, not a construction of education and future leaders of community. My daughter believed in your culture. You're not cultivating the fundamental right of securing the library. The library is just the way we go to the toilet. We need the library to create community. That's your regional leadership. I tell you why. I was born an Indigenous girl, also in extreme poverty. According to all the research, it will take me 180 years without library. I was born without library, but my daughters know they were born here. And that means that within a decade, we can transform community out of poverty. Therefore, the library shouldn't be touched in budget of political discussion. The corporation and the library brought the community outside because you didn't show communication skill with that corporation. I applied twice for a workshop Indigenous and twice have been rejected because the culture hasn't allowed us, people who don't have a voice, to have a secure library. Therefore, every time a budget comes, it shouldn't have fear in our heart. The library is the fundamental right for the developed country. I was born without one. I read between 20 and 30 books per month because this is the richness of Geelong. Please, let us support the diversity and don't let suffer our new generation without library. We shouldn't be going to the street. We're not an undeveloped country. We've got a beautiful region. Our libraries are fundamental as the swimming pool for our mental health. Thank you.
Carol. It's probably a good moment just to mention that the discussion of finance between the council and the Library Commission is still very much underway and still very much looking for a solution for everybody. So I just make that comment that the community knows the discussion is still going on very strong. David Shearer. Marion Cherkovich. Gaffney. Edwina Wilkins. Joel Carnegie. Jan Waldron. Jennifer Tomafalu. Tim Woods. Thank you, Tim. Elizabeth, sorry, Kelly.
Thanks, councillors. It's actually Glenn Benson, President of Geelong Swimming Club.
Good to see you, Glenn.
We've met before.
Yeah.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all directly. As the President of Geelong Swimming Club, with around 50 employees and who provides a service to almost 1,000 families within our greater program, I understand only too well the difficulties in preparing a budget that will satisfy the needs for all parties. Whilst I understand budget constraints, Geelong families have an expectation that their children will have a pathway from learn to swim through to elite level, much the same way as other sports in the region. Cardinia Aquatic Centre is the base from which we are supporting the aspirations of surf swimmers and Ironmen and women who, along with triathletes, use Cardinia Pool for their winter and international competition preparations. Closing Cardinia Aquatic Centre during the winter months interrupts this systematic training irretrievably. It just can't be made up anywhere else. Disrupted training pathways aside, it's inconceivable to me that a fair-minded council would choose to close the only outdoor 50-metre pool available at the very time local athletes are aspiring towards participating in the upcoming Commonwealth Games. This is our opportunity to produce a homegrown hero. Closing Cardinia Aquatic Centre effectively makes this notion impossible, as local athletes will be at a distinct disadvantage to their metro peers who have access to 50-metre pools year-round. As real examples, currently we have 3 swimmers with disability representing Australia on the international stage at this very moment, and a further 3 able-bodied athletes competing at the upcoming World Championship trials in only a few weeks. Geelong Swimming Club has inspired and talented athletes striving for the Commonwealth Games in March 2026. We have sent athletes to Commonwealth Games before and won medals and broke world records. Given the opportunity, we can do it again. We fought and won this battle before. Council was incorrect when in an earlier press release they wrote that the opening of pools during winter was a temporary measure over COVID. After community consultation and extensive trial period, the pool was declared open year-round. Numbers of public swimmers who use this facility in winter speaks for itself. Every lane is full at peak times. Cardinia is a vital service that builds a healthier and happier community. And I'd like to acknowledge the previous speakers on this subject who are much more emotional and powerful than myself. We can do better than to cut short the hopes and aspirations of competitive swimmers and hinder the health and well-being of the wider community. Sport and recreation accounts for only 5.6% of council expenditure in Geelong, and of this, Cardinia Pool is but a micro percentage. Please keep Cardinia open. Thanks once again.
Thank you, Glenn. Kate Swift. Tracy Kaminsky. Bill Shackley. David Spear. Timothy Simons. Evla Shalapuka. I hope I got that right. Anita Marsh. Tracy Stone. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I have made a submission to reinstate the allocated funding for the Chilwell Library upgrade project. This is a vital upgrade to the much-loved community library, and the upgrade includes internal toilets, baby change facilities and meeting spaces. The project has included a state government grant of $150,000, and these funds must be used on this project. An extensive process has been followed to engage with the community and upgrade the library in appropriate manner in order to deliver the vital facilities to meet community needs. This is not a grandiose rebuild. The project reflects the community needs. Over the last few weeks since submissions were made, we've engaged on this subject a number of times. I am consistently told it is disappointing to have to put these projects on hold. But the community perception is the budget can't be managed. You can't afford the funding to operate services. You're ripping services out of our community, and it seems you don't understand the necessary services a community needs. To us, it's more than disappointing. You've recently and suddenly closed the Newtown Maternal Health Centre next door to Chilwell Library. Do you understand the connected relationship between the health centre and the library for this community? Have you considered the future of the vacant building and the relationship with the Chilwell Library upgrade project? You've said the building will go through an assessment to ascertain its purpose going forward. Will it include a community consultation process? I truly hope so. For 6 years, this community have fought to save Chilwell Library, demonstrated its value, followed your processes, had our say, and lobbied for a vital upgrade, all while we watched the other $9 million upgrades and $18 million new library built. Our community deserve to have these vital services. Our library is not to be closed or unstaffed. Again, we just ask for a fraction of the overall budget for toilets, baby change and accessible facilities, meeting spaces and a connection to the park. Reinstate and prioritise the Chilwell Library upgrade project. Thank you.
Margaret Forbes Byram. Lisa Martin. Garrett.
Good evening, and thank you for the time and the opportunity to talk, and also thank you for your service to this community, and this must be one of the hardest gigs you have, so thank you again for that. And we understand budgets are very difficult documents to get right, and it's about balancing priorities, and it's also about balancing risks. And you know, those risks come in various sorts, from financial and governance, but also reputational, as well as climate risks, environmental risks, and social risks, as we're seeing by some of the programs here today that are losing funding. So I just want to remind you, again, I've used this quote often, but it's such an important quote that came out recently from the UN. There is a rapidly closing window of opportunity to secure a livable and sustainable future for all. The choices we make this decade will have impacts now and for thousands of years. I've been coming, normally with my Geelong sustainability hat on, to ask for more money for the environment and sustainability for probably a decade now. I really could just change the date on my submission. But we are now at a point where this is getting urgent. Our region's emissions are not falling. There is no plan for how we can get our community emissions down. Our citizens are facing risks, they're facing increased bills, they've got drainage problem. These things are only going to get worse and exacerbated if we don't start tackling this now. The city is also missing out. Other regional cities are leading the way. Greater Bendigo has a climate collaboration between academia, business, government and community, getting on with the job and having an implementation plan. Today, the Committee of Ballarat announced a plan to be the first regional city to be 100% renewables. Why isn't Geelong doing that? We are missing opportunities by not responding to this important challenge. And you're also betraying the aspirations of our community. People like myself and many, many others who've contributed so much volunteer time and goodwill into the development of plans and strategies like the Climate Change Response Plan, which you do not bother to fund the implementation of. And we really just cannot keep accepting the odd crumb and watching our grants get cut. You've removed the funding for Sustainable House Day, the only public event in the region that helps people live more efficiently and lower their power bills. And yet there's funding there for 400 and something thousand for a new practice cricket pitch at St Leonard's. I could go on, but my time is up. But I do ask you, it's now or never. We only have this decade. Thank you.
Vicky. Brian Hubber. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for this opportunity. I made a submission which argued for the City of Greater Geelong to provide the Geelong Regional Library Corporation with the additional funds to operate the new Borangook Drystyle Library so that the broader Geelong community is not disadvantaged by having branch opening hours severely reduced. On this point, I would note that Corio Library, which services the areas of Corio, North Shore and Nor Lane, will have its opening hours reduced from 56 hours to 45.5 hours, a reduction of almost 20%. The first thing I would like to do now is to consider the values of libraries: economic, educational and community. Economic. An independent report by SGS Economics and Planning for the State Library of Victoria and the Public Libraries Victoria Network, published 2011, found that the return on investment in public libraries was $3.56 for every dollar spent. So the 13 million or whatever that COG spends on its libraries returns 46 million in economic and social benefits. Educational. Libraries provide the community with a wealth of information and reading and listening to keep them informed. Libraries provide the skills to access information. As a librarian, I still remember instructing a client in what a cursor was and how to use a mouse. Libraries are essential in the provision of preschool literacy programs. Libraries provide an essential supplement to formal education, providing resources and study spaces. Libraries provide essential resources for independent and business research. Community. Libraries keep the community well informed to make personal, family and social decisions. Libraries are a focal point for community identity. Libraries are all inclusive and inviting, offering services to all ages and community groups. Libraries create cohesion through the mixing of generations and community groups. Identity and cohesion creates trust in society's institutions, such as local government. Why did the Geelong community display such resilience through the pandemic, resulting in one of the lowest death rates in the world? Because we cared about our fellow citizens and we trusted our institutions. And why was that? Because we have robust social agencies, such as libraries, working at the grassroots, keeping people informed and keeping them safe and keeping them together. Libraries are the beating heart and thinking brain of every community, and they need to be fully supported by local government, just as the community expects. Thank you.
Alison Moore. David Mould. Jane Goodall. Hugh Kingsley. Thank you, Hugh.
Evening, councillors. My name is Hugh Kingsley. I am an educationalist and a company director. I'm here to support my submission about the proposed closure of public libraries and funding cuts. I'll summarise in the following way. I happened to be in Denmark at the time that I heard about this proposal, and I was invited there by the Next Library International Conference, which is the international body for public libraries. Now, something that concerned me is, why was I the only Australian there? I'll leave that question stand. A couple of points that I'd like to mention. Australia is a signatory to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Accordingly, we have serious obligations to meet in relation to that and the 17 sustainable goals. Another point I'd like to raise is, sadly, racism, anti-Semitism and hate is rapidly on the rise. And what concerns me is that if we go about the pathway of reducing funding to public libraries and closing some branches, we seriously risk empowering a fragmented and disconnected community with unknown ramifications. So my proposal is that we take a positive approach to what's going on and let's say, okay, adversity into opportunity. Let's revisit the library and how it works and how it serves the community. So what I would like to suggest is, before we make any funding cuts and any closures, we engage experts. We have Deakin University on a doorstep who would love to do a research project, and they probably wouldn't charge us for it. And let's make our decisions based on solid evidence. And I would also encourage, as I said in my submission, I've done a lot of work in America in one of the most prestigious public libraries in Westport, Connecticut, and I've proposed that the recently retired CEO would be a person that would be happy to come out to here and to provide guidance and reset the vision for the library. So I implore you to rethink the strategy and let's see how we can build what we have into something greater and stronger. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just going to go back a step for Timothy Simons. Thank you, Timothy.
Thank you, Councillor. Sorry I missed my spot. The Chilwell Library serves the Newtown community, providing computer access, children's storytime programs and other community events such as a monthly book chat and knitting circle. It serves the community who are sometimes unable to drive, and young families are looking to have a sustainable lifestyle where they can walk from home to important amenities. The building itself, however, suffers a number of issues. The building has a very small capacity of just 19 people, and due to high demand to its services, the library has actually had to add a second weekly storytime session to the local schools also wanting to visit the library have trouble visiting because the class groups are larger than the capacity of the building. The entrance to the library is also a big, heavy swinging door that's a challenge for some people to open. It's not meeting modern building standards for access. The design and approved for the redevelopment of the library fixed all these problems with automatic doors, almost doubling the floor space of the library, as well as providing more appropriate exits to the building. The library is situated on the northeastern corner of Sladen Park, which contains the only public toilet near the shopping district at the south end of Packington Street. The public toilet is in extremely poor condition and is due for demolition and replacement. The library redevelopment was to contain a replacement external public toilet facility. The plans have been drawn up, the consultation has been completed. The redevelopment has great benefits outside of just providing core library services to the community. I would urge Council to reconsider delaying the funding of this project. Without this redevelopment, the Chilwell Library and accompanying Sladen Park will continue to be grossly inadequate for the community that is growing up and living around it. Thank you.
Jodie Quinn. Good. Bridges. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for the opportunity of speaking to you tonight. I submitted 2 written questions to Council at its meeting on the 23rd of May, recorded as submitted number 34. Council responded with a general, non-specific answers that failed to answer my questions. I request specific answers to the specific questions and that all questions and answers be recorded in the minutes of the meeting, which to date has not been done. The Council's rating plan refers to Council's intention to reduce rates on commercial industrial property to make Geelong attractive for business and to do so by increasing residential and farm rates. What evidence does Council have that existing commercial rates are a factor in discouraging or failing to attract commercial industrial activity from being located in this municipality? Council should also consider that being a desirable residential area has also affected residential rates, leading to actual residential rates rises of over 15% in some areas. Council has an obligation to explain and justify its decisions that significantly affect the majority of its ratepayers, many of whom are under financial pressure. Council has a legal obligation under its agreement with the Geelong Regional Library Corporation to fund the operating costs of libraries in its municipal area. Council authorised building new libraries at Drysdale and Armstrong Creek and must have been aware of its obligation to pay the operating costs of those libraries and the existing libraries. It is disingenuous and unconscionable to fail to fund these new libraries or to seek to do so by significant reductions of library services to the remainder of the municipality. The Bowen Heads Traffic and Parking Study approved by Council in 2020 identified 6 short-term solutions for improvement to traffic safety, which have been unsuccessfully included in business case submissions for funding in the last 2 years, and the 2 most urgent requested again in this budget submission process. The Bowen Heads community is concerned that Council has failed to implement its own plan and requests that the urgent works requested be undertaken without further delay. The budget proposes cuts to services to ratepayers, including withdrawing funding from providing beach lifeguards and other so-called partnerships with external organisations. In these circumstances, why is it appropriate to maintain a donation of $16,000 to the President's Club of the Geelong Football Club? Thank you.
I just want to clarify one thing. Did you have some questions at the previous meeting that you haven't had answered? Is that what you were saying earlier?
No, the questions have been answered, as I said, in a very general, non-specific way, which, in my opinion, failed to answer the questions that I put.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Theodore. Kevin Carey. Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin Carey from the St Leonard's Community Committee, and I appreciate this opportunity to present a submission on behalf of the St Leonard's community. In October 2021, staff members of COG and members of the Community Committee conducted an inspection walk through our town centre. The then City Service Manager, Guy Wilson-Brown, identified that a UDF refresh was needed to develop strategic controls to determine the best long-term use of land in and around our town centre. We, the committee, were advised that a submission for funding of the identified mini UDF refresh was to be included in the 23-24 budget for consideration. On December the 20th, I wrote via email to Bellarine Ward councillors, Mayor, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Asher, Councillor Mason, and I copied Deputy Mayor, Councillor Aitken, advising and asking the above that the case for funding be allocated during the budget considerations. We look at St Leonard's, what it was, what it is now, and what it will be. Statistics taken from CoreLogic. In 2011, the population of St Leonard's was 2,000 people. In 2021, it was 4,891. In 2026, the projected population is to be 6,341. That population increase has placed considerable pressure on our small town centre. Parking spaces available today are less than it was in 2011. The UDF is a first step in the process of addressing and achieving the resolutions of our needs. If funded, the proposed UDF will provide for a better community experience now in the future with a projected population of 6,341. In the context of the 23-24 budget, the amount in funding needing is small. The St Leonard's Progress Association and its community committee is prepared to engage with both federal and state governments to seek funding for any identified needs. I thank you for your time. I ask that a favourable consideration be given to our request.
Kevin. Sue Bull. Peter Gray. Catherine Kavanagh. Adam Ning. Gales. Thank you for the city.
I have some questions in relation to the budgeted allocation under the project name Computers and Telecommunications, which it's allocated $6 million for the 23-24 year. I was interested to have some further clarity and understanding in relation to that. The description was the implementation of new technology systems, platforms and software solutions to uplift digital capability to meet the needs of the city. And my questions are, what specifically are the new technology systems, platforms and software solutions being implemented? Is it a combination of existing work contracts or new ones yet to be started? And what is the specific outcome for these? And when is the implementation due to be completed? Thank you.
The city. Next is Sharon Jones. Emma Cahill. Anne McMahon. Thank you, Anne.
Hello, my name is Emma Balkan. I'm here on behalf of Anne McMahon. I speak on behalf of the members of the Save Highton Library Community Group, working to keep Highton and all Geelong libraries open and operating at current, if not pre-COVID levels. This is the second time in recent history that the people in Highton, West Geelong, Chilwell and Bowen Heads have had to come out in the cold and the rain to protest against the threats posed by council budgets that would result in cuts and closures to these essential community service hubs, their libraries. Thank you to those councillors who did attend, but unfortunately our questions remain largely unanswered. We still do not have answers to why these 4 libraries, Highton, Geelong West, Chilwell, Bowen Heads, were targeted yet again, and what will prevent them from being targeted again in the future, for example, when Armstrong Creek comes online in 2024-25. What commitment COG is making to the community of Greater Geelong to ensure GLRC has the necessary funding to service all new and existing libraries without closures and cuts now and over the long term. When it is the community who is being asked to sacrifice so much over relatively so few dollars, why not allow community delegates to be present at the discussion table? The Council's response to the community's call for a secure, longer-term funding plan has regularly been met with the statement, the Local Government Act 2020, which mandates that all library corporations decide on their future within 10 years by 2030. The City will fulfil this requirement with opportunities for consultation and community engagement as required under the Local Government Act 2020. Given the current situation, I am sure the community will be forgiven for some loss of faith in the Council's capacity to consult and engage effectively with community. Our overall objective is to secure the long-term future of our libraries without ongoing threats of cuts and closures and without having to protest again and again for at least the next 7 years and beyond to a 10-year strategy and plan. Rather than a 4-line statement, would COG please provide the community with detailed concrete steps it will take to implement a successful long-term funding strategy to secure the future of our libraries, our essential community service hubs. Thank you.
Welcome former Councillor Patrick Manane. Thank you, Patrick. Ahead of Patrick, which is most unusual. But
okay, well, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity for Active Geelong to present this evening. Active Geelong commenced 6 years ago with a view of making Geelong Australia's most active city for the purposes of good health in our communities. Major businesses in Geelong are partnering with Active Geelong, including GMHPA, Barwon Health, Deakin University, St John of God Hospital, Epworth Hospital, Genu, the Private Health Network and many others. And over the past 6 years, these organisations have invested over $1 million and volunteers have invested over $250,000 in this work to support Active Geelong. Leadership is a shared responsibility and our work is a shared responsibility, and many of our partners are asking why we don't have the Council as part of our leadership team in this important work for our community. We need your support to expand the advocacy and participation of our programs because our current capacity is not allowing us to satisfactorily reach all of Geelong's residents, many of them disadvantaged. We asked for $150,000 per annum over 5 years for a long-term partnership. But whatever amount you can afford to support us in our group, support our group in the work we do, we will multiply that amount many times over to make sure that your investment is great value through the work that we do with our large and influential group who I've mentioned previously. Good health in our communities is core business of Council, and partnering with us in this way is a way for you to achieve great results. We understand the funds are scarce, and so in these times we believe your contribution to our list of programs will produce great value for the city and can have a significant impact on the objectives of Council's own health and wellbeing plan. And I just want to ask Professor Colin to expand on that just a little bit. Thank you.
My name's Colin Bell from Deakin University. Just 3 quick points in support of Pat's presentation. Physical activities, an effective population-wide strategy for preventing many of the chronic conditions that affect residents of Geelong and throughout Australia, diabetes, dementia, various kinds of cancer being among them. And funding prevention makes a lot of financial sense because it keeps people in work and out of hospital. But even when it's prioritised, prevention funding is often sideswiped by more urgent funding needs, like COVID-19, for example. And in the tight current fiscal environment, Active Geelong offers the council a unique opportunity to bring investment from local businesses who've been contributing to this for 5 years or more now, alongside the investment that council is making to meet the objectives of the Our Community Plan. Thank you.
Thanks. Tim Goddard. Welcome, Tim.
Hello, councillors. How are we all? It's all very stirring tonight, aren't we? Very serious up here. Budget stuff. Tim Goddard, President, Barham Hills Football Netball Club. A place of fun, a place of joy, a place of competition, a place where 1,000 kids and men and women play football and netball every week. And I was here 5 years ago, then 4 years ago, saying, can you help? A nice question. Can you help us with over-maintenance? We sit on a lovely river, the Barham River, on Barham Coast land, yet we had to, before you decided to come and help, pay for all of our over-maintenance. Wasn't ideal, but you said, yes, we can help, and we thank you for that. Now, this budget came out, and you said, we won't help now. Our needs are stronger. We've got more players, more teams, more connection, and I hear the words tonight in the room: connection, community, health, books, swimming pools. They're all about your nuts and bolts of communities. Running, swimming, playing sport, connection, reading. And you're saying to them, you're saying to us, we can't help now. I find it a little bit strange that I would have thought as councillors your job is to ask me as a community member, Councillor Trenton, Stephanie and all the others on Bellarine and Jim, how can we help? You said that you could help 3 years ago, which was great, and we thank you, but now you're saying, sorry, the tide's out. I don't understand it. I'm not a fan of your decision. I understand there are fiscal responsibilities to be had, but I would have thought your job as councillors to say, how can we help you in the community, be the best you can. We're all volunteers in a footy club, netball club. We do a great job. We have to do a great job against Bruce's John Amateurs on the weekend when we play them. But that's what it's community, it's connection, it's sport, it's fun, and we're simply asking for your help ongoing. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but it helped us no end. It also said to our community that, Geelong Council, they can help a sporting club when they've got a bit of inequity in their place of being, which is on Barwon Coast land. I thank you for your time. I hope that you actually listen to respondents this year, because I know 4 years ago when I came up, there was probably 20 of us presenting, and the budget didn't change 1 inch. So I think you had 10 years back then, but 3 years ago you actually listened and helped many other people. So I hope this year that you take on board our footy club's submission, but also those of the others in the room. I thank you for your time, and that's it. Sweet.
Anthony Anderson. Andrew Gatehouse. Wayne Colburn. Jeff Gorman. Unwin Armstrong. Michael Megan. Thank you, Michael.
And thank you for your time. My name is Michael Finnegan. I'm here on behalf of families the Bellarine opposed to the childcare fee increase. As ratepayers within the district, we find it relatively insensitive that the City of Geelong Council have decided to raise childcare fees. The federal government announced for the next financial year more assistance to families facing budget stress. It is hard to see past this move as an opportunistic grab for cash, as it is quite poignant tonight when budget stress will go up even further over the next month and probably for the next couple of years. What is even harder to accept is that the City of Greater Geelong have decided to propose a budget surplus of $1.28 million. It would appear that the relief given is being swindled straight from the pockets of hardworking families. Childcare represents more than $11,000 of our household income, and though 4.3% may seem relatively small, at $30 a week for us personally as a family, it ranges between $30 and $60 for most families per week. That's between $1,400 and $2,000 a year for most families. That's families having to make the decision of whether to take their kids to the football once a month or out to the movies or potentially go camping. We're also frustrated about the boast of $16.9 billion for future infrastructure capital funding when families are suffering so much. Yes, large infrastructure projects are easy to promote. What we're asking is that the Geelong Council be champions of the working parents. This is not a time where we can afford any extra from our income, and the fact is that though we are lucky that we get to decide whether we take our kids to the movie once a month, for a lot of families it's not making that decision, it's making the decision of how they're going to feed their families. So as I said, I'd like Geelong Council to prioritise families and promote the fact that you are supporting families at a time in need rather than just large-scale infrastructure. Thank you for your time.
Cherry? Balkan. Joanne? Okay. All right. That actually concludes our list of, for this evening, submitters to our budget. So I'd like to thank you all for coming along, making your submission. You have been heard, and there will be obviously continued discussion as we get towards finalising the budget. We do appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Some of our